Hello, mindful friends. Today we're going to be talking about our own internal bully and how oftentimes we can project outwards as to who is it that's making me feel bad about myself, who is it that's trying to control me or put pressures on me. And when we kind of sit with that and really examine, we start to notice that the biggest bully is inside ourselves. And whether that be kind of learned ways of speaking to ourselves from examples of how we were raised or people around us or society, even if they gave us the example, the words that are harshest from that example kind of implant themselves into our own language with self. So the way that we talk to ourselves. And we can kind of blame all we want of putting that onto other people of, I see myself this way because of them, or I have these expectations because of them, or I feel these pressures because of them. If you really start to listen, the voice that keeps telling you that you're not good enough or you have to add up or you have to do more comes from within you. And that maybe it can seem like you're doing that to self so that you do get their approval or because you did learn that that's kind of the requirement. But the one kind of carrying it on and perpetuating it within your own being is actually ourselves. And I noticed this within myself just recently of feeling like, man, I'm feeling all these pressures from out in the world and people are putting pressure on me and they have these expectations of me, and to get approval, this is what I have to do. And when I really sat and listened and observed, I found that I was the one believing these things about other people. So I was kind of projecting their perception onto them. And even if they had that perception and were kind of feeding that back to me, the reason that it could affect me so much and the reason that I was believing it and taking it on as truth is because I was already talking to myself with that same language. So if I had not been believing that already and putting those pressures on myself already, I could have much more easily resisted the kind of talk that they were feeding me or their perspective that was coming at me from them. So all that they were doing, right, when kind of they have that perspective of you, is reinforcing the perspective you already have of self and the way that you already treat yourself. And when that is what's happening, so when they're kind of reflecting back to you or saying things of pressures that you already put on yourself or judgments that you already put on yourself, that's when those kind of bullying moments feel the worst, because it's confirming what you're already feeding to self. And it compounds it, right? Because it's kind of this tormenting way we're treating self already within us that now gets confirmed by somebody outside of us. And then the hurt in that is so much greater, right? That's what really makes us feel like we were just completely attacked. Whereas if we start within to heal this, not by kind of fighting back to others and blaming them and telling them they have to treat us better, but by in fact turning that around and starting by treating ourselves better. So if we want other people to trust us and believe in us, that needs to start with self. Do you trust yourself? do you believe in yourself? And if we want people to start accepting us as we are and take us for who we are and stop judging us. So if you're feeling that, like, man, I just wish people would accept me, turn that question around and ask yourself, am I accepting myself? Am I free of judgment to myself? And most of the time, the things that we're blaming other people for doing towards us, we will find that they are in fact what we are doing to ourselves. So in my case, it was this needing to perform and this needing to achieve so that I could be accepted and loved. And I would project that outward, like, this is what other people are displaying, or these are the expectations they have of me. But when I really started looking, that wasn't actually the case at all. And the biggest person putting those pressures on myself to succeed, to achieve, to perform was in fact me. That I hold myself to this super high standard, and I'm very hard on myself if things don't go well. And I have, based on really big kind of dreams and hopes, but I do it in a way that's a little bit harmful to self, as in, you don't have value unless you achieve this, or that this works out well. And then what I was doing is, because that's how I see myself, it's easy for other people to mirror that back to me. That those pressures I put on myself now becomes how I interpret them seeing me. And it turns into this feeling like it's true. It's true that I only have value if I achieve and I perform. But what happens when you kind of flip that and you say, okay, well, now I have to work on loving myself and knowing that I'm of value, even if I'm not performing at my best today, or even if this doesn't work out, or taking some of those pressures off of self of, you can still be loved and you can still be okay, even if you're not performing and meeting all of these expectations. If I start treating myself that way, then I'm not carrying that negative judgment of self within me. And so then when someone else, their actions aren't going to immediately trigger that perspective within me. So they may say something, they may critique something I've done, or they may perceive that I haven't done enough. And I will take that on, right? And notice it and see it, but I won't internalize it as an identity. And it will no longer threaten my value or my love or my acceptance. So, if we're carrying that judgment within self, it's already heightened and we're already believing it. So if someone says something that confirms it or that kind of mirrors it, it's a really powerful, painful feeling because it's something you already believe about self. But if you're not believing it about self and you're really centered and grounded in your true worth, in your true value, in your self-love, and you're treating yourself really well, you're really kind to self, then when someone says something that kind of triggers those old beliefs or is kind of saying to you that you're not valued if you don't do this well or you're not performing well, it doesn't affect you as deeply. It doesn't hit you to the core, and it doesn't attack your being. So when they say that, you can observe it, you can notice what they're saying, you can apply it to this one situation, but it doesn't hurt as bad as an attack to your being, because you've already done the work and you already know the truth within you that you do have value and you are loved and you are accepted and there is belonging. And what they say is not going to alter that. It's not going to change that. So then their bullying, it doesn't really feel as much like bullying because you don't believe it and you don't internalize it and you don't take it on as your identity. So I suggest to you this week, when you're noticing something that you're not liking how someone's treating you, or you wish people would treat you differently, flip that back around and ask yourself, do I treat myself that way? Do I believe that about myself? And then start really doing the work to heal that within you so you become the most loving, kind, accepting voice to yourself. And then notice that when that's really strong, the bullying doesn't seem as real and doesn't affect you quite as much because you are your safe place of love and kindness, and you know the truth within you. If you enjoy these little talks and would like to join us for a group session or individual coaching, please visit us at newleafmindfulness.com, and don't forget to like and share. I hope to see you all very soon.